Hey y'all, just thought I would check in and give you a much deserved update. If you're new here, my name is KP, and on this channel, I used to talk about, among other things, building my very first tech startup. So, at the beginning of 2024, I got into a startup incubator and spent the next couple of months building, validating, and finally presenting my idea to a panel. Fully validated idea, networked with developers, the whole nine. But honestly, once I sat down after presenting, I just heard the words, "What's next?" And I was kind of already being pivoted in a different direction. So, yeah, I went from at the top of the year being in a startup incubator to now, towards the end of the year, I plan to have my personal training certification. Kind of wild. Like, it makes all the sense to me. It's serendipitous how it happened, but on paper, it sounds crazy. So, for startup founders, they say that you should be doing one of three things at all times. You should be either building your product, talking to customers, or exercising, putting your body, mental, physical health first. So the first two were right up my alley. It made sense. It was kind of expected and intrinsic to the process. But like the working out part, I was an athlete in high school. I've always had an athletic build. I've always valued nutrition and fitness, but after losing access to the amazing facilities that I had in high school, I just fell off completely. Like I just deprioritized fitness. And it actually wasn't until I moved to Charlotte and had access to this amazing gym in my community that I was like, okay, we can get back into this once and for all. And then like 2 years ago, I dropped a hex bar on my big toe and was out of commission for a couple of months. And I was like, you know what? I think actually that might be a sign to sit down. So I got my dog and I ended up walking on average 2 miles a day. So I was like, that's enough fitness for me. But being extra sedentary now, like working on this idea, reading for hours, typing for hours, it was like, okay, I see the need to like actually get some physical training in. So it started off once a week for a couple of months. I think I started in like February. And by April, I was up to like 2 days a week. And I was starting to connect the dots. Like it was starting to feel familiar, starting to feel like my old self. And by the summer, I was working out 3 days a week religiously, powerlifting, cleans, squats, all of that, beast mode. And yeah, by by August, I was also running twice a week. So 5 days a week, hardcore. And I didn't recognize the person I was becoming, but it felt good. Like it felt right. Like it felt like this was the person I've always been meant to be. And apparently other people were noticing that too, because strangers were approaching me and asking me to train them, which I was not expecting. Like, again, I'm looking at myself as just someone who's still trying to learn to ride the bike. Like, I'm still incorporating this into my lifestyle and seeing how it fits in with all of the other things that I want to do. And my good neighbor, who's a friend, she was the person who's most persistent and got me to train her. And it felt good. It felt so nurturing. And she asked me for nutrition advice, which is just my thing. And I was like, I see what you're doing, God. I get it. I get it. And it was after I had a hair consultation with a new hairdresser. And we sat down and we talked for the first time, and she told me some things. She was like, I've never told anyone and like this ever in my life. And I was like, oh, well, thank you for confiding in me with this information. And we just kept talking, and she started talking about her workout routine. And how she wants to like build up her back and lose some back fat and all of that. And she was like, yeah, I want you to train me. And I was like, it just kept, it was a recurring theme that was like, still shocked me every time it happened. I was like, me? You sure? Like, I get it. But in my head, it's like, I'm not qualified to do this. And that morning, I'm pretty sure that morning, I asked God for confirmation on my next steps. Pretty sure that morning I did. And I just told her, thank you. That was confirmation I needed. And I told her I had a talk with God about it. And she was like, yeah, whenever you're ready, let me know. So not too long after, I picked a certification program, and yeah, I have my big old 1,000-page textbook with my highlighter going through reading, and I am loving it. It is like, it's already fall, my favorite season, gives me back to school vibes as it is. Clearly, I was a little nerd. I loved September, October. Just, I can like feel myself back on NYU's campus. But now I have this added element of not just like fall vibes, but like studying. Like, I actually have something to work towards. So that's been my life for the last I got the textbook back in like July, end of July, and the resistance has been real. And I've just been letting myself work through the resistance, and I've been letting go of other parts of myself that no longer belonged. Adding forgiveness into the mix. I took a forgiveness workshop that kind of changed a lot for me. So yeah, I just have a lot more space in my mind right now for new things. My mind is wide open and ready for just to let in all of this magic and whatever experiences may come. So all of that to say, again, I started this year in a tech incubator. Now I'm getting a certification, and I can't say that this is my future, but it's my right now. Like, I could have said before that being a startup CEO was my future. I would have been wrong. So taking it one day at a time and letting God lead and having fun. Just following the fun. That's what I've been doing. And the elephant in the room, I am still in corporate. I have the day off today, a much deserved day off. And again, I don't know if this is going to replace that job, but I've always felt called to work in service. I didn't know what capacity, with what, communities, or I just didn't know, but this is kind of making sense right now. This is really like tactile, tangible service. I did feel like my startup was serving an underserved population, and it was worthwhile, but this just incorporates so many more of my passions that this has to be the direction that I go in right now. It feels too good. So I'm going to keep thumbing through my big old textbook and highlighting and doing my online coursework. And I expect by the end of the year to have my certification and be working part-time as a certified personal trainer. And it's exciting. I'm excited to meet people, empower people, because we all have what it takes to achieve the body of our dreams, or just feel better about ourselves, look better. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, corporate is still here. It's still paying my bills, all of them. And I have big girl bills now with this new car and this apartment and my pup. So yeah, at this point, the way corporate's going, who knows? I don't see a future in corporate. I never have. So having something else in my back pocket feels great. I also know that once this job is over, I walk into my job every day feeling okay with whatever happens, because I know that God is providing for me and not the man. And whether I'm fired, laid off, whether I quit, whatever, I'm always provided for. So yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of looking around. I'm just curious as to like, what's next? But I know what's now and I love it. So if you're being turned in a different direction, follow it. I know there's a lot on YouTube talking about like jumping out the window and quitting your job. And I don't think that's always necessary. If it's ruining your mental, physical, emotional health, absolutely jump ship. But like make a plan. I don't have a plan yet. I'm just going with what feels good. The job still feels okay. It has its moments, which I'll come back on and talk about another time. But yeah, I'm totally trusting in whatever God's doing in my life. And I'm excited for the opportunity to serve. So if you're being pivoted in a direction that doesn't quite make sense to you, you're in your cushy 6-figure job and you're like, $16 an hour, why am I being directed to this? I don't know, but at the very least, like that $16 an hour won't last. God will find a way to make sure that all of your bills are taken care of and that you have an overflow to have what you need and get what you want. So this is just a couple of words of inspiration from someone who is trusting in the path and not quite taking the leap yet, but following the signs and connecting the dots. So wishing you all the best with love.